Now I got him in the way hot. There we go. All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Make sure that we got good audio levels here. It looks like we do. Say something, Brian.
Hello. Wave if you can hear us, folks.
Yes. They can hear us, and we're good to go.
Something like that.
It's Flyers game day. Flyers Panthers. This is the first repeat opposition of the year, correct?
Yes, it is, actually. It's one of those flukes in the schedule. They get it twice in, what has it been here, a week, something like that? So, yeah, it happens every now and then.
8 days.
8 days.
Yeah, saw them on that Wednesday,
Yes.
first part of that back-to-back. That Florida got the 4-3 win. They outshot the Flyers 35-34. It was Felix Sandstrom's first game of the season, and the Flyers were on that back-to-back.
Yep.
And they suffered the first loss of the season against this team.
Yeah, it was, I feel like that game was, again, a game where they're going to come back tonight, maybe want a little revenge against these guys. They didn't play up to their potential, obviously, in the second half of the back-to-back. And, I'd like to see them get a shot at him with Carter Hart in it, to be honest. It was first game of the year for Sandstrom, first game in a while because he didn't play the second half of preseason. We'll get a shot at him tonight with the 9.49 save percentage guy in net. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, 175 goals against average, 9.49 save percentage. And you look at this Florida team, beginning of a hockey season is so weird because the Flyers haven't played since Sunday, since they lost to then the 1-6 San Jose Sharks. And Florida played on Tuesday against a team that's been trying to kind of trade pieces away. But some old habits die hard. Patrick Kane had a goal and an assist, and they lost to Chicago 4-2 on the road. They ended up out shooting Chicago in the game 31-22, but lost the game. It's such a weird sport, isn't it?
It is. It is bizarre. It's
Staylock with 29 saves.
And again, that's the thing. It's to me, everything that happened, 50% of what happens in this game is pure chance. You're trying to get. You have systems. You're trying to get the first shot off, and then after that, whatever happens next is just whatever happens. And sometimes you've got a team that comes into the zone with no systems, and a puck hits somebody in the rear end and goes in, and that's it. It's a bizarre sport like that. So that's the battle between those who favor analytics and those who favor the eye test. I can't tell you how many times I've seen over the last few days about all these articles about how bad the Flyers are at 5-on-5. Well, 4-2. I'll take it.
Yeah, Chicago. I mean, they lose their first two games and they've won 4 straight.
Right.
It's a weird league. You're at this point now too with facing this team, like you said, that we saw last week, looking for a little revenge, and you have some kind of knowledge of what they are this year. 'Cause there's a lot of changes in Florida. There's no Jonathan Huberdeau anymore. They made some pretty big deals in the offseason, and they bring in Tkachuk, who's leading them with 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points. I didn't feel like he was a big factor in the first meeting between these two teams.
No.
But since then, he's made a little bit of noise.
And have you seen this team's power play? 2 for 33.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It really does not. So, with the guns that they have, you would think that that's going to, be a little bit more effective than it has been, even if you haven't been working on it. They do have new coach and all that and some new personnel, but, the guys that they brought in have played power play before, so you would think that they would, at some point, be able to pot a couple more than just 2 in their first 30 chances. But that's here we are.
Yeah, well, the thing, they are 6.1% on the power play right now. I mean, that is, granted, it's a small sample size still, but, there's only 2 teams in the league worse than them. That's Montreal Canadiens. You kind of get that a little bit, right?
Somebody's got a 0.0.
Yeah, that's Columbus. They have Gaudreau. And they're 0.0. And Patrick Laine, one of the best releases in the game. They haven't scored a power play goal.
Yeah,
that's a stunning number.
It's bizarre. So that's the thing with again, one of the reasons why I like this approach so much that John Tortorella has taken with this team. It's just play hard, be hard to play against, and you have attention to detail. And all these little things that he has harped on long before anybody's talking about systems or a power play structure or anything like that. Just do those things. And those are going to give you the foundation to form systems and stuff like that. But those are the things that allow you to go in there and steal a game, which is what the Flyers really arguably have done their first 4 wins. They've kind of stolen them to some extent, one way or the other.
Trailed in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess with the exception of Nashville.
Right, yes.
They didn't trail in that game.
Yes.
It's the only time they scored first this season. And you look at it, and they sit at 4-2. It's going to be, I think tonight's going to be an interesting game. And I think one of the big storylines tonight, obviously, is Travis Konechny and Kevin Hayes, who didn't play a second and that third period the other night, and how they respond.
Yeah, I mean, we're all going to be looking at that very closely. And our understanding is that, that was a one-game thing, that they're going to be thrust into it tonight. The other thing about tonight you may have seen over the course of the day is the Flyers are going to play 11 forwards and 7 defense due to a couple of personnel issues. So that's going to give those guys more ice time than they normally would get. And we expect to see them tossed right back in there and, being double shifted and things like that. We're going to see how they respond. And that's, that was the nature of this whole thing. It wasn't something that's going to linger or anything like that. It was just one period. Okay, it's done. We're moving on. And here we go. So, yeah, very big night, I think, for those two guys and to see how they bounce back.
And Flyers made a claim on the waiver wire as well. Kiefer Bellows, who was the 19th overall pick in the first round back in the 2016 draft. The Flyers actually passed him over, moved down, and drafted German Rupsev in that draft. And Bellows gets claimed by the Flyers. Now, John Tortorella spoke this morning and mentioned that Sean Couturier is not skating now.
Right.
I guess it just has a apparent setback. And, Cam Atkinson's availability is really a big question mark now as well with an upper body injury. And you lose James Van Riemsdyk, who's having surgery, tomorrow?
Yep.
With the hand or the finger. So they claim Kiefer Bellows. There's not a lot of risk here involved for the Flyers. Frankly, I almost don't know how they could not claim Kiefer Bellows, to be honest with you.
And I got to go back and look and try to figure out why he was on waivers. Like I don't recall him. I don't recall his stock falling so badly that he's not able to make this Islanders team right now. I mean, I just
only played one game this year.
Yeah, I just don't really see that. So it's one of those situations that he's been with the Islanders his whole career.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations that is a low risk, high reward thing here. He could come in here and benefit from a change of scenery and all of a sudden take off. That'd be great. And if it doesn't work, I mean, the Flyers again right now are at a point where they kind of need warm bodies more than anything. They don't want to necessarily have to call up a bunch of guys from Lehigh Valley and wreck development there in order to fill holes here. So something like this pops up. I have no idea what Kiefer Bellows is making, but I'm sure it's 1.2 than James Van Riemsdyk, who is now on LTIR.
Yep.
So that frees up the cap space for him while he's here at the very least. And then you go from there. And like I said, if he blows up and this change of scenery gets him going, I mean, this could be a big pickup for him. He's obviously got a pedigree. He was, a US NDTP product, which is what a lot of Flyers right now are. I don't know if he played with Joel Farabee, but if he didn't, Farabee was right behind him.
Yeah, he was in 16-17 season, so I think Farabee was the year after.
Yeah, but I think they might have played together in that program. I don't know, but there's familiarity there, I think. So I like the pickup. And, it's probably just what the Flyers need right now. And again, doesn't work out. They can put him back on waivers and somebody else will grab him. He'll move around like that. So go for it. I like it. We thought we might see him tonight. We're not going to, but I think we'll see him on Saturday.
Last year, he played in 45 games for the Isles. He had 6 goals, 13 assists, and 19 points, 19 PIMs, a -1. And then this year, like I said, he only got into the one game. This just kind of smells like a Lou Lamoriello falling out.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere in there.
He wouldn't be the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere in there, just something rubbed the wrong way, and who knows what, who knows where. But
maybe he had facial hair.
Maybe he had facial hair. If you would like to have facial hair, he's welcome to grow it here.
Mm-hmm.
He is released from purgatory a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned it. Former first rounder. I mean, he's only 6 years away, removed from being selected 19th overall, and the pick the Flyers had in that round was out of the league. So, this may be, I don't know if you consider it a makeup. It really has nothing to do with anything, but it is maybe a little opportunity to do a little bit of a do-over on that one pick in that round.
Yeah, and he was signed to an extension, a restricted free agent contract on August 22nd for a one-year deal. So this is what the Flyers have picked up with him. They get the player on a $1.2 million deal. So that's the cap hit, the AAV, 1.2. And if it works and you can extend them, then you do. And if it doesn't, you walk away and go, hey, thanks for jumping in. There's not a lot of risk here.
41 goals in WHL at one point. That doesn't just go away. And we have seen instances of players being used in a certain manner by, an organization that when they move and they change and they're used in another manner by another organization, they take off and they start getting back to what everybody thought they were going to be. So I hope that happens here. Bellas has certainly had his share of coaches with the Islanders. So I don't know if
Lane Lambert must not have liked him.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything going on there, but I would just have to imagine how elated he is to be coming here and not going to Bridgeport. The only thing that is worse than playing for the Islanders is playing in Bridgeport. So it's not a fun place to get around, I don't think, and Bridgeport is it's Bridgeport. So he gets to come to Philadelphia, and he's going to get a fresh start here, and hopefully it's going to be to his benefit, to the Flyers' benefit.
Yeah, and he's another guy that has that really good shot. Has, like you mentioned, with Portland, he scored 41 goals in 56 games. He had that season 74 points in 56 games in the dub, and he's looking to find his way in the NHL. And they got a few guys in that same kind of boat, in the sense that you've got a guy like Owen Tippett, who's got great release, great shot. But all they need to do is find the back of the net. Easier said than done, of course. Scoring at the NHL, just because you scored in lower levels doesn't mean you can score at the top level, because it just gets that much harder with the goaltending and the structure and everything else. So he's a guy that needs to be a trigger, play to his strengths, know what he is, and go be it. It's one thing Torts also talked about this morning I thought was interesting, was, he said that he thought Zach McEwen was trying to do too much, not being what he is in camp, which is why he started in the AHL with the Phantoms. And he's looking for that same kind of thing out of Tippett. He wants him to be that really big, strong stride and power forward that gets to the net, scores goals, and has a willingness to shoot the puck. Don't try and be what you're not. Be what you are.
Exactly. And it's I got to think it's a bit of I don't know. It's understandable, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
New coaching staff.
That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's the only one I can come up with. It's not a surprise to see a guy like Zach McEwen, or a guy, for instance, Wade Allison, Owen Tippett, any of these guys that maybe are on the edge of NHL versus AHL. It's not surprising to see them try to go out there and, impress the coaching staff and earn themselves a spot, and in doing so, maybe try to do too much, and maybe the approach they take actually ends up being to their detriment. And then, in McEwen's case, he went down to the American Hockey League, played a weekend there, probably cleared his head of all that, and started to play a little bit more like what got him here. And, he comes back up here and it pays off. And, you'll see that, I think, with some of these guys that, might be trying too hard in this particular circumstance. And, all they have to do really is not try so hard. They don't have to try to force things or anything like that. It's just back off and play your game. Not everybody's going to be a 50-goal scorer. Your role in some of these situations is to slow down the other team's top line, or just be a pest and create a turnover from the other team's third line and get a scoring opportunity. You don't have to be Hall of Fame pretty about it getting down the way. So, it's good to see, and it's another thing we'll be looking at in addition to what the two bench stars are going to do. We're going to see what some of these other guys can do to maybe simplify their game.
Yeah, and John Ferrell, he has said that 30 seconds. Okay, all right, we got 30 seconds, and we're going to join our radio audience. So I'm going to hold that point.
Hold that thought.
Yes, we're going to hold that.
We're going to do some radio tap dancing here.
Yes. Parishnikov. ready? Yes, it is.
They're back.
Then move out. That's right. It is Flyers game day. Jason Myrtetus, Brian Smith here from the East Food Hall Wells Fargo Center. Flyers taking on the Florida Panthers tonight for the second time this season. Saw them on the road 8 days ago. That was a 4-3 loss. First loss of the season for the Flyers, and that back-to-back in Florida. And they got an opportunity to try and exact a little revenge tonight against this Florida team that comes in, coming off a loss on the road against Chicago. 4-2 was the final of that game. Flyers haven't played since that 3-0 defeat on Sunday, and they'll be looking to score goals, and a couple of players are going to be looking to be big factors tonight, and Kevin Hayes and Travis Konechny, Bri, because those two are got to be the guys, the top 2 point guys on this team are going to have to be the ones that kind of be the catalyst to get things going offensively.
Yeah, when we last left you folks, the Flyers had just finished a game where Kevin Hayes and Travis Konechny did not play the entire third period, and it kind of raised some questions, as it would, because we don't see that very often. It is not something that a lot of. I don't think we've. Lane Vigneault might have done it once. I think. I don't know why I feel like that way, but a lot of Flyers coaches recently have not done this sort of thing. So we saw it coming. It's not a surprise coming from John Tortorella, and our questions was why. And he didn't address it after the game. So he wanted to keep it in the room. But to that effect, we do expect that it was a one-game thing, it was a one-period thing. And tonight, with the Flyers playing 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, both those guys are going to get a ton of ice time. You're going to see them double-shifted. You're going to see them tossed out there in a lot of situations. And we're going to be sitting here and waiting to see how they respond. And so will John Tortorella. So that's one of the big things tonight, is to look and see how these two guys react to how that game went down, and see what it does for their game here tonight.
Yeah, and that's when you talk about running 7D and 11 forwards, you go, well, how's that going to work? You have deep pairs. Well, Rasmus Ristolainen comes back into the lineup tonight, or makes his debut on the season, as a matter of fact. And Owen Tippett cleared protocol. He is back in the lineup as well. So here's how the lines shake out, and you're going to have to double a couple of center, or add some centers here, because you got 4 lines and 3 centers. But the top line, Kevin Hayes centering Joel Farabee and Travis Konechny. Scott Lawton in the middle, centering Noah Cates, who moves back to the wing. John Tortorella looking to free him up of some responsibility and get him going again. Noah Cates on the wing with Lawton and Tippett. Then Morgan Frost centering Lucas Sedlak, who moves from the center to the wing, and Wade Allison. And then the other wing pair is Zach McEwen and Nick Delarier. Your D pairs, Provorov and D'Angelo's top pair. Braun and Sanheim staying together, with Ristolainen just coming back, which probably makes sense. Although you could see Risto along with Sanheim at points. And then Sealer on the right side, along with Igor Zamula and or Ristolainen. But that'll probably all get kind of mixed up. Carter Hart goes in goal. Bobrovsky goes in goal for Florida.
And kind of the way I think we'll see this work is you'll see the centers just roll through. So you got 3 centers and 4 pairs of wings. To start anyway, you'll probably see the wing pairs stay the same, and the centers will roll through. And then, from there, we don't know exactly what will happen. You might very well see Noah Cates take a shift at center. You might see Lucas Sedlak take a shift at center every now and then. And then, it's funny, Tortorella is kind of left at the Brad Shaw as to how he's going to handle the defense. But to me, it's a good situation for Ristolainen, because even though John Tortorella said there are no restrictions on his usage, he doesn't have to be eased back in. It's not a bad thing to be able to ease him back in. To occasionally give him a shift off, toss Zamula out there with Sealer. I would expect the top 4D will probably play rather consistently, and that third pairing, you probably will see Ristolainen 75% of the time, but then you can toss Zamula out there a few times as well, and give Risto an extra breather, because there is nothing, like we've always said, there's nothing like game play and game timing in terms of not only your personal timing on the ice, but your wind and all that stuff. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have this, I think, in place for him. And this is by necessity. It's not by design. Flyers lost James Van Riemsdyk for, we expect, I believe, 4 weeks. I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, George said don't hold me to that, though, because I'm not a doctor.
Okay, yeah. And then
more tomorrow.
And then Tanner Lisinski is out tonight with a family matter. So they lost 2 forwards, and they brought back a forward and a D, and that's how we get to this point. Now, with the Bellows signing or waiver claim, they could have tried to throw him in, but I'm not sure he's played a lot lately. And I believe he got here about 6:15. That's a tall order. So
this isn't beer league.
Yeah. So he'll get it tonight to get acclimated. He'll get a seat tomorrow, and if we're depending on where Tanner Lisinski is on Saturday, you could have Bellows available for that, I would imagine.
Yeah, and we'll see how he fits in if they go back to a situation where they go to 12 and 6. That's more ideal, a little less juggling.
Yeah.
And having Ristolainen be able to come back and ease his way, and I agree with you. I think that's a good thing. And Torts talked about Risto and said, he's a big body, a big physical presence, but he doesn't want him to overuse his physicality in the sense of chasing a guy and therefore structure breaking down. And that's the one thing with Risto we saw. We see him make good plays, and we see his physicality, and that means players know when he's on the ice because you got to have your head on a swivel with him out there. But he can't take himself out of plays, which I've seen him do.
Yeah.
Get on the wrong side of pucks, or give up. Being too aggressive sometimes a guy can shake you, and then you've got an odd man situation down low with it. 2-on-1, in a small area or something like that. And that's something he's going to need to avoid, and that's something he's going to be preached to him by Brad Shaw, and John Tortorella.
Yeah, I know when he came here. The Flyers coaching staff that was here last year had this is the start of the year, so really almost 100% turnover, I think, in terms of the guys working with Risto. They immediately kind of spotted a couple of things in his practice habits that they needed to get out of his game.
In other words, wash the buffalo off him.
Exactly. You're talking about a guy again who, from our perspective, went through the Buffalo Sabres organization. I think it was something like 19 different coaches when you account everybody.
In terms and everything.
And then he was playing from the very get-go, had to play top-line minutes against top players from the other team. And he was coming here with the idea of he wouldn't have to do that. He would be the second-pairing guy, and he wouldn't have to always go up against the other team's top lines. Well, then Ryan Ellis got hurt, and all of a sudden he was kind of thrust into that situation from time to time and didn't really get that settled. But now I think he is in that situation, and he is going to have a few situations where he doesn't necessarily have to work as hard. And that might just be something he has to get out of his head, thinking to himself, I got to shut this guy down. Well, maybe you just need to slow him down. You don't need to shut him down necessarily.
Contain it a little bit.
Right? Just,
can't be over-aggressive.
Yeah, just prevent the 10 Bell scoring chances and maybe give up the mid-grade scoring chance from time to time or something like that. Let your goaltender make a save, that sort of thing. So, we'll see how he progresses here. But, again, it's going to be his first game. Did he play a preseason game? He did play.
I think he played one.
Did one, yeah. So he at least got some game action in the preseason. And at the same time, you don't want him to re-aggravate this injury because he said it was something that he got in training camp and it was getting better and then he aggravated it. So you don't want that to happen again. So, just go out there, play your game, and let your teammates do the rest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting his first couple of shifts too because, Risto, he's probably been like a penned animal.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get out there, and there's a lot of adrenaline that goes with your first game of the season, and just got to be careful, especially against a team like Florida. You like having a guy like Risto in the lineup, though, when they line up a guy like Matthew Tkachuk. Those two could collide on a couple of occasions this evening, I think.
And that's why he's here. You want to have somebody like him.
That's why there's actually 7D. I think because Sealer brings some of that too.
Right. And Matthew Tkachuk is. This is not meant to sound as bad as it is, but he would chew up and spit out Igor Zamula. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just right now Zamula is.
Yeah, he's a fun man,
and he might even do it to Travis Sanheim. I don't know. He's not a fun guy to play against. So you got two defensemen there in Ristolainen and Sealer who are also not fun to play against, and so that'll be a good matchup if the Flyers can get it.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed Risto for Flyers Daily when he was first acquired. He said, "I'd like to be a piece of SF." And that's part of your game. All right, Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they've got the countdown to face-off. It is the Flyers and the Panthers from the Wells Fargo Center. Countdown to face-off and all the first period action coming up after this. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.